Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 385. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going okay. Just a quick heads up. We're doing things a little bit differently this week. I have no internet in my house, so we're recording things locally. Kevin and I are talking over the phone, and then we're each recording our own audio. So if things sound a little different or weird or shitty this week, that's why we're really trying to just make it work. But there was a hurricane in my area, knocked out the power for like 3 days. I didn't know that I was going to be able to even fit in all the movies, but I was able to have somewhat stable internet at a hotel and watch the movies. And now I have power, but I'm without internet. So
Watching those movies in between hitting up the tables and the slots.
yeah, I stayed at a casino hotel. Oh boy, I probably have so much COVID right now.
Oh, I'm sure. Your viral load is through the roof.
I was like pushing vitamins and stuff and trying to stay away from as many people as possible and just kind of hide in the hotel room. To their credit, they did a really good job of like keeping everybody wearing masks and stuff. Like I didn't see a single person without a mask in there. So, and everybody seemed to be like kind of spread apart as well. So, you know, I think they did what they could. This week on the show, in celebration of Halloween, I know that we're recording this a day late, but we're still celebrating Halloween over here. We're going to be taking a look at 4 classic Italian Giallo films from the 1970s with reviews of Black Belly of the Tarantula, The Bloodstained Butterfly, The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, and All the Colors of the Dark. That is a mouthful of titles right there.
Sure is.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be very helpful. With that, just one bit of housekeeping. The new Saved by the 90s episode has dropped. It came out yesterday on Halloween. We talk about 90s horror trends. So specifically, we dive into meta horror and found footage. So we review New Nightmare, we review Scream, we look at The Last Broadcast, as well as The Blair Witch Project. So be sure to check that out. That is available wherever you get your podcasts and on the website at filmpulse.net. I think we can dive into our first review. I don't really have any order to these, so I'm just going by the way that I announced them at the top of the show.
Hit 'em.
Black Belly of the Tarantula. This was released on June 9th, 1972 in the U.S. I have a synopsis here. A series of victims are paralyzed while having their bellies ripped open, much in the same way tarantulas are killed by the Black Wasp. The victims all seem to have a connection with a spa. This is directed by Paolo Cavara. We'll kick things off with you, Kevin. What were your initial impressions of Black Belly of the Tarantula?
Let me just say that while researching potential Giallo titles to cover, this is the one that jumped out at me right off the bat. Number one, you have that title, which, that sets you up for a hell of a viewing experience, right? And then you couple it with that synopsis, and you're thinking, my God, this is a hidden gem. Like, this has to be like one of the best Giallos out there, right? And then you start it up, you fire it up on your machine, and you see that the score is by Ennio Morricone. So you're thinking, holy shit, this is going to be unbelievable. And it's not really. It's a decent movie, but it's just, ew, man, it was a letdown because you're thinking of this, using this black wasp venom to paralyze these victims, but they're still conscious throughout the entire murder, and they're ripping the bellies open. You're like, this is going to be some fucked up shit. But it's rather tame in a lot of ways, where he doesn't really rip he just stabs the stomach. or cuts it slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that's it. And it's more so just like the police investigation, wherein the detective himself, who is, you know, overseeing this investigation, just he's not sure he wants to be a policeman. And it seems like it's more so just about that. Now, I will give it marks on the fact that this movie presents pretty much every single person as a possible suspect. So there's just this overload of mystery, because you're like, well, each person is introduced with like a little tidbit that can tie them to the crimes. So essentially, and they introduce a lot of people, because there's a lot of crimes going on. This investigation just, it shoots out so many tangents. And I thought that worked really well. Like, the mystery aspect of it is pretty good, because there's literally like 30 suspects in this movie. It's out of hand.
Yeah, all the movies that we're talking about this month they're like early Giallo movies. A lot of them, I think all of them contain at least some of the tropes, but a lot of them are like maybe not what you would consider to be like standard. Oh, this is exactly not all of them follow the standard rules of the Giallo, because I think that a lot of them, most of them, are like early Giallo films. And with this one, I enjoyed it for the most part, but I found it to be pretty forgettable. Like, I saw this, like, I don't know, whenever it's marked on my letterbox. I don't even remember when I watched it. And I'm really struggling to remember like what happened in this movie, because it just kind of came and went. I saw it on the 27th, by the way. And I agree that I liked the mystery aspect of it. I thought it was, I didn't know, like I didn't know who did it, because they do an adequate job of throwing in red herrings and trying to throw you off the track. But the problem was, like, when the killer was revealed, I was just like, oh, okay, all right. Like, it wasn't. I was just like, okay, it's that guy.
I was. I'll have to say that I was kind of disappointed at that, because early on I suspected that it was him, and pretty much throughout the movie I was like, I hope it turns out that it wasn't him, because if it is, it doesn't really, like, it seems like a letdown. It doesn't really make sense. Mm-hmm. And then I was, of course, disappointed that it turns out to be him, and it's just like, oh, okay, that was kind of anticlimactic.
Right, yeah. Yep. I did like the scene where the detective goes and sees the entomologist, and all of the spiders are in their enclosures are filled with cocaine. I just thought that was a funny little aside that they went through.
That's the thing, is like, he's investigating these murders where the women they're paralyzed with a needle to the back of the neck with this wasp venom. And then the killer, stabs him in the stomach or whatever, right? So that's the main crime that he's looking into. But it ends up being, there's blackmailing that he gets sucked into, which leads to a number of potential suspects. There's this whole cocaine ring with spiders. That's a whole thing. Of course, those people could be involved. Like, there's just so many other crimes that he gets sidetracked by, and like a wealth of suspects comes out of that as well. But then those people are slowly killed too. So like, your suspects are whittled down by being killed one way or another. Just like getting run over a car, whatever. Getting thrown off a building, whatever it may be. There's just a lot going on in this movie.
I did like the Morricone score. I thought it was kind of an interesting score, in that they use this sensual panting throughout.
Yeah, don't get me started. This is the worst.
Like, what's going on with this?
This is the worst theme song that's ever existed for a movie, I think.
I thought it was hilarious.
Like, it's supposed to be. You're right. It's supposed to be this like sensual, like panting, I don't know like how the hell like seductive moaning or whatever it is. But the only thing it sounded like to me is that a woman was trying to warm up her cold hands by, how you breathe on them. Like, that's what it sounded like. And it was just constant.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this one. I did like at the end that the guy got so enraged that he had a gun, but he drops the gun and decides to, like, bum rush the killer instead of just shooting him.
He just he went nuts on him. It was the rage thing. Rage overtook him, and he went off.
I think for me, out of these four, now it should be noted, I love Giallo movies, but these four are all first time watches for me. I haven't seen any of these movies, so this was really exciting for me. Out of these four, I think that this one is probably, for me, the weakest of the bunch.
A little bit, yeah, I might agree with you there. Which is, again, that brings me back to, doing the initial research. Like, this has all the markings of being absolutely fantastic. That's what you're thinking, right? I mean, that title, the synopsis.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't have it.
I still think it's very watchable. It's still entertaining, and I think that it's still pretty fun. So I don't want it to sound like I hated on it or anything. It's just at the end of the day, this one just sort of blends into the other kind of standard Giallo films that I've seen over the years, and ends up being somewhat forgettable aside from a few things.
Well, I also just want to say that, like, if you're looking to sit down with, like a True Blood, like, Giallo movie, Black Belly of the Tarantula is really going to disappoint. Like, I don't feel like this is, like, usually when you say Giallo, you have a certain vision in your mind of a certain type of movie, and to me, this isn't it.
It relied more heavily on the investigation aspect of it, which is there's another movie that we're going to be talking about in just a second that does a similar thing, but a lot of the other tropes aren't here either, with, like, the black gloved killer and, like, the over stylized visuals and stuff like that. Like, the cinematography in this movie was good, but it wasn't anything like really incredible. Like, I think that some of the other movies that we're going to discuss had some really incredible cinematography, whereas this one was fine. Like, there were some stylish moments, but it wasn't anything jaw dropping or
it does have the surgical gloves though.
Yeah, the old style surgical gloves that look really awful and uncomfortable.
Yes. All
right, that's the Black Belly of the Tarantula. Do we want to give these scores? Do you want to give us a score?
We can give it a score if you want.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
I'll give it a 6 too. I think it's a good crime movie.
It should be noted that all of the movies that we're going to be talking about today are available on streaming services. I believe all of them, with the exception of All the Colors of the Dark, are available on Amazon Prime, and All the Colors of the Dark is on Shudder.
Yes.
So you can check out all of these.
Even when you go on Prime, there's a bunch of other Giallos on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have a really surprisingly big selection of Giallos on there. Shudder has a good number of them too. So between those two services, you're definitely set for your Giallos.
Get your Giallo fill. Get it.
Moving on, we're going to be talking about The Bloodstained Butterfly. This is also from 1971. It's directed by Duccio Tessari. I have a synopsis here. When a girl is murdered in a park, a television presenter is accused of killing the girl, who happens to be his daughter's best friend. Now, this one is also not strictly a Giallo film. Again, it has some of the trappings of a Giallo, and I think maybe you could classify it as such, but I think it's more in line with the, I think they're called like Polizzi movies, of the 70s in Italy, where they're more like police procedurals.
Mm-hmm.
And this one follows some of those tropes as well, where it mostly focuses on the investigation aspect of it, the forensics of the murder, and going through all of that. And they even show the trial, which I thought was kind of interesting. You don't see like trials in too many of these Giallo movies, but it goes through all of that. To me, I found this one to be the most entertaining. I really liked this one a lot.
I'm glad you did. This one kind of surprised me too. Once I got over the initial kind of disappointment that this wasn't going to be a standard Giallo, and really far from it, because it, like you said, it is so far more interested in the police investigation and the court proceedings. Like, that's almost all of the time is dedicated to those two things. But once you kind of get over that initial disappointment of it not being a Giallo, this movie is really, really good when it comes to the police investigation and the court proceedings.
It's a solid mystery. Like, lots of twists and turns. You think you know who it is, and then like you narrow it down to like two people. Like, you're pretty sure it's one of two people, and then they throw in some other twists in there as well. I didn't really see the ending. Like, I was pretty sure it was this one person, but I didn't see where it went at the end. I thought that was a nice surprise. I loved all the forensics scenes. I don't feel like that's something you typically see in these types of movies, and I thought that all of that stuff, how they would show like doing the fingerprint analysis and like the impressions of the boot print and examining the body and all of that stuff, I thought was really, really fascinating. And then also when during the court case, how they had the eyewitness, they like recreated the rain where they would spray her window and stuff to see if she could actually identify the killer and stuff like that. I thought that was all really, really great. I loved all that stuff. I loved the editing in this, how they would jump back and forth and have when they were describing scenarios, show that scenario playing out. I loved all of the rotary phones in this movie. Can we talk about some of the incredible rotary phones that are on display in this movie?
Yes.
Like, incredible rotary phones. I loved the script. I thought that the script was great. The thing is, like, yes, it's a police procedural. There's lots of suspects. There's lots of twists and turns and action and intrigue, and there's multiple murders that do occur in this. But there's this kind of almost silly banter that happens sometimes too, specifically with the coffee maker.
Yes, I was glad that you brought that up, because there's this comedic through line about one of the detectives trying to prepare coffee out of a vending machine for his boss, and his boss just never likes it. It's never good enough.
Nope. And I thought that was such a nice little touch. Like, it was just such a fun thing to add to lighten things up a little bit. And it was like the comedic timing was always on point whenever they would come back to it. Like, it was just so good. So good. Really, really liked that. I think they did a really great job of casting suspicion on several people, and also portraying a lot of shitbags. Like, I feel like this movie could also be called All Men Are Shitbags and Cops Suck, because that's pretty much what this movie's conveying.
Well, I think that's what you can kind of see with most Giallo movies, which I think is really the interesting thing here, is a lot of these movies, the potential suspect is pretty much every single man that's introduced. Like, every single man has something about them that's like, oh, it could be them. He could be the killer. He could be the one. And then usually the cops too, well, you know, they're never really suspicious, but they're just not really inept in any way.
Yeah, all of the from what I understand, and I'm not like super well versed in that kind of genre, the like Polizzi genre. From what I understand, most of them center around police corruption and corruption of the law and that type of topic. And this movie, I think, handles both of those themes really well, where every guy in this movie is just such a piece of shit. Every one of them, like especially the lawyer. I mean, the lawyer is just an absolute monster.
Now, the only thing that I thought was slightly disappointing about this movie is there comes a time, maybe like midway through, where it kind of like somewhat turns and points toward like a commentary regarding like class divisions, and like it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of welcome. Like, let's see how this is going to play out now that they're injecting this class commentary into everything. But they never really go anywhere with it, and they never fully commit to it. They just kind of show like 2 little sequences, and then that's kind of it. Like, there's this little discussion between the son of the lawyer, where you're like, oh, okay, we're getting into this like class discussion thing, and then it just kind of goes away, and then there's a little bit of, like a little bit of messaging, and then that goes away as well. But again, the police investigation, the court proceedings are phenomenal. The mystery and intrigue work really, really well. And I gotta say, the ending to this movie, the camera work and the location.
Oh my god!
The locations throughout, let's be honest, are phenomenal. But the camera work of the showdown, where it's a tracking shot that's pulling out of the room, but it's still swiveling as it's tracking between the 2 people, like as it gets further away from one and closer to another, and then subsequently passes the other person while it's still swiveling back and forth and tracking at the same time. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, there was some really great cinematography in this movie. I really liked it. It felt like of a much higher, like a higher production than some of the other Giallo films. Like, it felt like it was trying to be like a way more serious movie and maybe more mainstream than some of the other ones. Like, it wasn't overtly gory or anything like that. I think that it was trying to be a serious thriller, and I really liked all of the visual aspects of it as well. I thought that they were all top notch.
Yeah, well, this is another movie too that if you're sitting down and expecting a Giallo, you're going to be disappointed. But in terms of like a crime movie, like, to me, this is a phenomenal crime movie.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I really, really liked this one.
I would say this is like one of the out of the 4, this is probably my most recommended one. Although it's not, like I said, it's not, your typical Giallo. It's just a solid movie.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was great. All right, let's go ahead and give it a score. I'm like at an 8 on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. 8.
Highly recommend The Bloodstained Butterfly. So check that out on Amazon. Definitely. Next up, we have The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. This is directed by Emilio Miraglia. I have a synopsis here. When 2 sisters inherit their family castle, a string of murders committed by a mysterious dark-haired woman in a red cloak targets their circle of friends. Is the killer their ancestor, the Red Queen, who legend says claims 7 lives every 100 years? I don't know, is it?
You have to watch the movie and find out. That's what you got to do.
This does feel like a more standard Giallo, but there's this sort of gothic horror undertone to it, which is really nice. Like, the fact that a lot of it, I wish the whole thing took place in the castle, honestly. The fact that a lot of it takes place in this old castle, I think helps it tremendously.
Yeah, as soon as they introduced that castle, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be the one. And it is. I mean, you have a castle, you have the legend that sets it off with the Red Queen and the Black Queen. There's bats. There's flooding.
Yeah,
There's rats.
I wrote that. I wrote that down actually. Bats everywhere. There's
And
so
I
many
love
bats.
that apparently they've had bats forever. That no one, like, there's bats, but no one recognizes the bats. Like, no one's even worried about the bats.
Nah, they're just cool. They're cool with the bats. They live in harmony with the bats.
Like, this movie's incredible.
Yeah, I really like this movie too. To be clear, I liked all the movies that we're talking about today. But yes, this one it does feel more like your kind of standard Giallo, where you have a series of murders taking place with a mysterious killer. You don't know who did it, but then you have that gothic vibe in there as well. For some reason, I noticed that like a lot of Giallo films center around like a model, a photographer, a reporter, or a detective. Those are like the only professions you can have in a Giallo. So many of them take place in like photography studios or modeling agencies. So what were your initial impressions on this one? I know that you said you were into it, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit more.
I think this is what I was looking for when we started out this project. This is the kind of movie that I was hoping to find, right? And I think a large part of it is the castle. Like, castles work so well. Such a great location. And they use it perfectly. They're all over this castle, right? They're down in the basement. Also, this castle this seems to be like unending in its sprawl. Like, it's just like it takes up so much room, so much space. There's so many rooms to this castle, and there's like endless levels to it. There's basements upon basements. There's tombs. There's tombs in the castle. It has its own water system. Like, it's insane.
So, like the synopsis says, according to this curse, this family is every 100 years, there's gonna the Red Queen comes back and like murders everybody, or commits 7 murders, with the final one being the Black Queen, who I guess is the sister of the Red Queen. And these murders start up again 100 years after the last one, and the killer fits the description of Evelyn, who is one of the sisters of the family. And the killings start with the patriarch of the family, the grandfather, being killed. And in his will, he says he leaves there's like a sealed envelope that's not to be opened until was like a year has passed, which I guess is like he wants all the murders to be over first, and then deal with the inheritance.
Yeah, you got to get in the clear.
So there were some people who saw this killer, and she ends up fitting the description of Evelyn, who is one of the sisters. However, you find out pretty early on, that the other sister, Kitty, accidentally kills Evelyn. It turns out Evelyn is just like an evil child. She's just and when she grows up, she's still evil.
Yeah,
like she just beats the crap out of her sister all the time.
Yes, the whole opening to this movie is just a montage of her as a little girl, just absolutely ruining her sister's day in numerous ways, which I thought, for whatever reason, I just thought was the funniest thing.
Yeah. Oh, and then she tries to like kill her too when they're kids.
Yeah, like she just kicks every time she sees her, she just kicks the shit out of her. That's all she does.
So, yeah, so what happens is, as adults, they get into a scuffle, and this time like Kitty fights back and pushes her, and she ends up banging her head on this like stone column thing and falls into the water and dies, presumably. But then this killer comes back and it looks just like Evelyn. So they need to figure out like who the killer is, but at the same time, like the family is trying to protect Kitty. Like they know that Kitty, because they covered it up, and they check in the tombs that are on the property, and they see Evelyn's body there, her decomposing body, so they know it's not Evelyn, but maybe it is. Maybe it is the Red Queen coming back. Spoiler, it's not, but. A lot of intrigue in this one too. Like I didn't know where it was gonna go. I didn't know who the killer was. I thought where they did go with it was kind of interesting. Where it turned out that one of the family members was manipulating this other woman into perpetuating the murders. Like I thought that was a kind of a cool twist. I just really enjoyed this. Overall,
yeah, because again, you have a ton of things going on. You have the Red Queen legend, right? But then built into that is the dead sister. So everyone's kind of looking into this dead sister. So the family, of course, is trying to keep that secret. So you have that element to it. Then you also have Kitty's lover during this time. His wife. He's still married, but his wife is in an asylum. Mm-hmm. So there's that whole aspect of it where he looks like a bad guy, and he is a bad guy. And what was the name of their company that they all worked for? Springer?
Yeah, something like that.
They're the fashion agency. So the killer's essentially killing people from that agency, and then he gets to go to the top, so you have that aspect of it as well. There's just so many things going on here, and the fact that a large portion of it happens at a castle is just phenomenal, and especially the way that it all culminates at the end.
100%. Did you mention Peter, the guy who was blackmailing Kitty also?
Oh yeah, you got that going on
because that was a whole plot line too. So there's this creepy guy who shows up and he starts blackmailing Kitty because he finds out about the murder. I guess he was a lover of Evelyn's. I don't really know
it
where.
Sounded like it.
That's what I thought. But then he starts asking for money, and it turns out that he is tied into the killings because he's a drug dealer, and but he gets killed, and the way that he gets killed is pretty gnarly. He gets dragged from a car, and he gets fucked up.
That's right. I mean, the dragon was kind of fucked up to begin with, but then he gets.
She runs the car up onto the curb and just destroys him.
She gets tired of it, and she's like, all right, you need to let go. And she makes sure of it.
Comparing this one to the other two that we talked about, the kills in this one are certainly more graphic and inventive. There's some more creative kills going on in this one, and it's certainly bloodier. Now that I'm recalling it, I can definitely not understand the PG rating on this one. No, I remember there was a scene when I can't remember who got stabbed. There was one scene when one of the women got stabbed in the hand, and it the dagger went all the way through her hand, but when they stabbed her, it was a blood geyser that came out of her hand when she got stabbed. Yeah, the rat scene was pretty crazy too. So Kitty ends up getting trapped in these tombs, and the killer, who turns out to be, is it her sister or it's a family member?
It's her sister.
Franziska. I couldn't remember if it was an older sister or some other an aunt or something, but she closes off this water valve, or it causes the tomb to flood, but it makes all these rats swarm into where she is, which is kind of the big culminating scene, which is funny because when I was watching this, it was right after I read the story. I don't know if you saw this about the guy in New York who was at the bus stop and a sinkhole opened up underneath of him and he fell through the
Okay.
sidewalk into a rat's nest,
Oh god.
and there were thousands. He fell 12 feet and broke his arm and his leg, and he was stuck down there, and there were thousands of rats swarming him, and he couldn't move or scream because he was afraid that the rats were going to go into his mouth. And you can see the video of him he's just standing there. He's just standing there waiting for the bus, and then all of a sudden the freaking sidewalk just opens up and swallows him. It's insane. He's
nuts.
okay, by the way.
No, he's not.
He's okay. Well, it's funny because they were like, yeah, he's physically okay, but
yeah,
he has pretty severe mental trauma from this.
Yeah, no, he's damaged forever. There's no way.
I can't even imagine, man. Oh my god. So anyway, yeah, that rat scene was definitely was pretty powerful. I noticed that the one guy, I felt like the one guy looked like Powers Booth, the guy who played Herbert.
Yes, that's
Nino Corda is his name. I thought he looked exactly like Powers Booth, but I also thought that the character was kind of ridiculous because at the end when they go to rescue Kitty, they open up like the door and all the water rushes out, and they show Herbert just standing there, and he's like, I don't know if they use like a dummy or what, but he was like standing perfectly upright, and then all of a sudden he just like falls straight and dies. Like it killed him somehow. Because they were afterwards when they were like bringing her out, they were like, yeah, he drowned. It's just like, what? It wasn't that much water, guys. Come on.
Yeah, no, that was very weird. Because when it comes out and like all the water settles, it's only like in that room that it pours out into. Once it was displaced within that room, it was only like 2 feet deep.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how he drowned in that. And I also don't understand why he was just standing like right in front of the door in the middle of the room. Like, let the police
They knew
they're all there.
Yeah, and they knew that it was filling up with water too. They knew that it was full of water. So, come on.
Herbert he wanted to
dummy.
go. He was dumb. He's like, everyone's dying. Everyone's making fun of me. Like, I just need to I need to leave.
You know, a lot of these Giallo movies tend to be very convoluted, and which is actually something that I like about them. And this one's no exception, because you have this really convoluted storyline involving like blackmail and like manipulation and seduction and all of this stuff, and then what it comes down to is the older sister wanting to kill the younger sister so that she can get the inheritance. Like, that's just what it boils down to.
That's it.
All it was. But it was fun. It was a fun time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, this one really, this hit the spot.
What do you want to give The Red Queen Kills 7 Times?
I give this like an 8.5.
Wow, nice. I'm sitting at like a 7.5 on this one. Yeah, I really, really liked it as well. Finally, for our Halloween special, we're going to be talking about All the Colors of the Dark. This came out in 1972. Looks like it was released in 1976 in the U.S. This is directed by Sergio Martino. I have a synopsis here. A woman recovering from a car accident in which she lost her unborn child finds herself pursued by a coven of devil worshippers. Now, this one comes after the popularity of Rosemary's Baby, and I feel like I feel like you have to bring that movie into the conversation with this movie, because I felt like there were a lot of similarities between the two. Now, I will say that this is its own thing. It's not like a rip-off. I wouldn't call it a rip-off or anything, but I think the influence is there.
Yeah.
From like even the music, the score sounded similar to me, but I really liked this movie overall. It has a hell of an opening scene when she's having that nightmare, and it's just like, what is going on? I mean, it opens with that like surreal nightmare sequence where there's this like pregnant woman and this like old person with the messed up teeth and just all kinds of craziness happening in that opening.
Yeah, this one's far more psychedelic of the four.
So she has this like crazy dream. And it should be noted that the main character, name's Jane, she's played by Edwidge Fenech, which I've seen her in a number of things. I think that she's a really great Italian actress. I think she's French-Italian. You might know her from Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, which is another really great Giallo. And recently I saw her in Strip Nude for Your Killer. That came out on Arrow Blu-ray not too long ago. So she was in that. So she's in a lot of these. So she plays this woman who is, tormented by a traumatic incident, and she has this horrific nightmare. She wakes up, hops in the shower fully clothed, which I thought was interesting. Have you ever done that? Like you have a nightmare and you wake up and you're like, oh boy, and then you just take a shower fully clothed?
No.
I should try that sometime. We should all just try that just to see what happens. Next time you have a nightmare, just immediately get up, assuming you're not sleeping naked. Just immediately get up, hop in the shower.
Well, there's a number of shower things, because I've also never done like the one arm outstretched up against the wall and you just put your head down, like I've never done that.
I've done that only when I have like a severe migraine.
Okay.
And I just let the water run on the back of my neck just to soothe that neck.
Yeah.
And I lean up against.
Understandable.
But I'm really weird when it comes to like showers and like touching things that are wet. Like I don't like touching walls that are wet and stuff like that. So I hate grout. I'm like really, I don't like touching grout at all.
I love this. I think
anyway.
No. Fuck all the colors of the dark. I want to get more in depth, more intensive look.
We don't need to dive into all
touching.
my various neuroses.
No, I love it. It's great.
Oh my god. Apparently nudity is just not that big of a deal in 70s Italy, because there's this one scene in this movie where the sister of Jane she's changing in front of her husband. Or no, they're not married, but she's changing in front of Jane's fiance or boyfriend, and she's just totally cool with it.
Mm-hmm. Which is really
getting naked.
Bizarre. I mean, of course, there's that aspect to it, but then also what you find out later and identifying marks and stuff, and it just seems like, man, you probably should have been a little bit more careful.
One thing I actually liked the Richard character in this, because I felt like he was not your typical. Wait, was it Richard? Richard's the husband or boyfriend, right?
George, played by George Hilton.
George Hilton. I felt like he was a little bit different than your typical Giallo man, in that he did seem to care for his girlfriend, and he seemed to be pretty smart. Like he put all the pieces together with this situation where, she felt like she was being stalked, and things progressively get worse for her. But I feel like he always kind of stood by her side, and that's just not something we see a lot of in these movies.
I mean, it takes him a little bit, because he's a lot of the beginning and middle portions of this movie, he's always kind of being taken away because he's far more invested in his work, and then he finally comes around, puts the pieces together. Mm-hmm. Like if he would have focused early on, I think it would have saved her a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think so too. So what happens is she's being plagued by these nightmares, and her boyfriend doesn't want her to go see this like psychoanalyst guy who her sister works for. Like he just doesn't trust this guy, he doesn't believe in it or whatever. But it's getting to the point where she's just like, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. So she goes to see this guy, and like he starts to help her, but then she ends up meeting this other woman who said that she had a similar situation with a stalker and all of this stuff, and she ends up getting roped into this like this occult, the Sabbath that happens, and you have this really incredible Sabbath scene with this dude. He has these like super long nails, and I love the scene when, because at first his back is turned, and you have these people, they're chanting, and they have their symbols and all of this stuff, and your typical 70s ritual thing that's going on. And I thought oddly some of the people were like dressed up like zombies for some reason, like they had the white makeup on. Like I didn't know what that was all about, but hey, whatever. But I love the scene when he turns around, because he turns around, you see him with his long fingernails, and then it cuts to Jane, and she just does this like, it's almost like an eye roll thing where she's just like, "Are you serious?" I just thought that was such a funny scene. It wasn't supposed to be funny, but I laughed. But then they kill a dog during the ritual, which, big minus points for me there. They murder a dog and drink its blood.
Yes. Which somehow like enlightens you or like frees you spiritually. Well, mostly just sexually. It frees you.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it really does, because she still seemed like, I don't want to do this. And they essentially just kind of rape her. And then she's healed for some reason.
She's quote unquote healed, but really, I mean, what happens at that point is she just gets more deep into the cult, where then like they own her because of that. They're like, all right, we own you now. So now she's even more under their thumb than before, because I think that they were targeting her. They were always targeting her. Like they were always going after her. They knew the plan with her. At least the woman was, because I guess you have to like, she wanted to, the only way to get out of it is to like die or something. So they tried to like trick her into killing her.
It's Herbalife. Like the only way that you have to bring other people in. It's like Amway. Like the only way that you can,
it's all big,
you can move
multi-level marketing.
Yeah, you got to bring people in. But this is, I mean, I guess it's kind of like Amway in that like the only way you can get out is you die. Like the person that comes in has to kill you, and then you're free. So I mean, it's pretty much Amway. There's a lot going on. It's just mostly her being terrified by visions, or this guy that's following around. Just seems to be everywhere. This guy with his ridiculous colored contacts.
Which, they look painful, by the way.
Yeah, and that's 2 movies that we covered. Black Belly the Tarantula, someone wears colored contacts. Which I gotta imagine the technology for that in the 70s had to hurt like hell. Because contacts now hurt occasionally.
They looked like they were just like really thick glass with like just paint on them.
Yeah.
Like lead paint.
Yeah, extremely unhealthy. So this guy just keeps showing up everywhere. She freaks out. I mean, all the time. Like, so much of this movie is just her freaking out. Which kind of brings me to something that I learned about myself in watching Giallos. And I think it's something that kind of blocks me from fully enjoying them, like a lot of people do. There's a lot of sounds that I can't stand. It's kind of like you with touching grout, but there's certain noises that they irritate me, and they trigger like a rage. And it's, for Giallos, it's people being like out of breath and like gasping and panting and stuff. Like, I can't stand it. And this movie, more so than the other ones, is like she's always out of breath because she's always losing it, and I can't. She's
constantly exacerbated.
Yeah, like it's just too much for me. I can't stand that sound. And the thing that gets me with this movie is that she reacts to everything like the same way. Like whether it's a cult demon freak out shit, it's met with the same response as if it was just like a banal occurrence. Like it could just be, like she saw somebody or saw a book and she loses it. But like if it's the occult thing happening and they kill a dog in front of her, she reacts the same exact way.
I think that's something that we see a lot of in Giallo movies, where everyone is sort of overacting or overreacting on everything. Like, I can't remember which of the movies it was. It might be the Red Queen kills 7 times, but there was a scene where one of the characters gets locked in the back of a truck, and the killer starts driving her around in the back of this truck, and she just loses her freaking mind to the point of exhaustion over like being in the back of this truck for like 30 seconds. Yeah. And it's just like, I feel like that happens like a lot in these movies where everybody's just completely overreacting. But then you have characters like the Doctor in this who underreact over everything. There's a scene where Jane shows up, she's bleeding, she has a tattoo that mysteriously appeared on her arm, and the Doctor is literally like, oh, just take 2 of these and call me in the morning. He literally says, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. And I mean, she's clearly, she's been through something horrible. And the dude's just like, it's not a big deal. And then so eventually, he still doesn't believe that she's being stalked. But he's like, okay, you know what? I'll take you to my like summer cottage or whatever, and you can hide out there, rest up, and I'll come get you in the morning. And of course, the stalker guy,
he's
blue
there.
Contacts, shows up, and she calls him.
Show up,
and she's
like he's already there.
Yeah, he was hanging out. He was waiting. And she calls the Doctor, and she's like, he's here. He's outside. And he's like, calm down, nothing to worry about. And she's like, they killed the housekeepers. Your housekeepers are dead. He already killed them. He slit their throats. And he's just like, not a big deal. Nothing to worry about. We got this. I'm going to come over. It's like, what? Call the cops. What are you doing? Nobody in this movie calls the cops. No one. This guy's slitting throats left and right, and not a single person calls the police.
Which the sequence wherein she finds the housekeepers, like everything about that was so deeply unsettling, and I just loved the way that all unfolded, where you didn't know, like they were frozen still, and there was almost like no sound, like no music. It was just the silence and like a little bit of her, like on the urge or on the verge of losing it. That was such a phenomenal scene.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one overall.
I thought this one was okay. I think this is more so like in line of, what you're looking for in a Giallo. It's not my type of bag. But it does have, because getting to watch all of these back to back, right, in a short period of time, you got your spiral staircases. Every movie has to have a spiral staircase. A large number of them are like the apartment buildings, where it has the spiral staircase around the elevator.
Yeah, dude. It was so funny because like the one in this movie looks exactly there must be hundreds of buildings like that in Italy. When I was in Rome, I was staying at this little like Airbnb, and the building that I was in looked exactly like that. Like it had that exact same style of elevator and everything. It's crazy.
And a lot of these movies, especially this one, has really interesting camera work where like it's got whiplash editing, back and forth. This one kind of is really interesting because they kind of do this like quick repetitive burst of action that like when he's, like attacking and stuff, which I found really interesting. You got the kaleidoscopic imagery, you got like the surveillance style overheads of the apartment complex and like the courtyard and everything. You got the back and forth of like when he's chasing her down the staircase and then she gets in her car. Like there's a lot of good stuff camera work wise going on here.
Yeah, this one also uses a lot of colored lights as well.
Yeah.
I know like that's sort of a hallmark of Giallos, like using the gel lights. And there's a really great scene where the camera is positioned behind these beads that are in the I believe it's the sister's house, and you have this like green light that's like the whole room is like bathed in this green light, and all you see is like through the beads. That I thought that was a really great shot. So I thought a lot of the camera work and the cinematography was really good in this one.
Yeah, I think of it far more than. I think I enjoyed a lot of those aspects a lot more than like the actual story.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I can't remember if it was this one or the one of the other ones where they do this really cool like handheld work that almost looked like a fisheye. I can't remember if it was this one or another one, but I remember seeing that and being like, "Damn, that looks really cool." It might have been the bloodstained butterfly when they were like coming out of the courtroom when they arrested the guy. It might have been that scene.
I do love in that movie, like later on in the trial, when they showed, the guy that's on trial, they cut to him behind the bar sitting in that little box area, and he's got his massive sunglasses on.
I know, what was that all about?
Like, damn,
it was so funny.
Disrespectful
like,
to the law.
It looked like Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
giant sunglasses in some gangster movie, or maybe it was like De Niro in Goodfellas or something. Yeah. So yeah, All the Colors of the Dark. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it for the most part. Comparing it to the other ones, I think it's below the Red Queen kills 7 times and Bloodstained Butterfly for me.
Yeah. This is one that I'm kind of surprised because it seems like this is considered like a classic Giallo. Like this is pretty well received by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know if it was for me I like occults, but the one in this movie, they weren't interesting at all.
No, I often question their motivations. Like, what are they? What's their end game here? What's their goal? Like,
it seems like it just comes down to sex. They just want to have sex, but at the same time, it seems like you don't have to do all of this. Like, you don't have to kill dogs and have people drink dog blood.
Yeah,
you can just fake that. Like, put some cornstarch in some wine or something.
Thicken that up. Thicken up that red wine.
Yeah, throw some port on low heat, let it simmer a little bit, mix up some cornstarch, mix it in, thicken it up, and then, be like, oh, here's dog's blood. It's gonna release you.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah, I don't think you have to kill an actual Shiba Inu. And your nail thing, what the fuck? Maybe you wouldn't have to do this elaborate thing to get people to be in your inner circle if you just get rid of the nail things. Because no one wants
I think
to
get rid of the nail things. Yeah, get rid of the nails. Get rid of come up with a better symbol. Like, the symbol looked so cheap and tacky,
Mm-hmm.
Like the little triangle with the eye in it. Come on. Come up with something a little bit more ornate, something a little bit more believable than, like, the tattoo looked so lame.
Yeah.
Come up with hire a graphic designer. Come up with something better.
Just a bunch of fucking losers. And also, get your team together, okay? Whip them into shape. There's no reason for 45% of you to be dressed as zombies. That's just fucking weird. Stop it.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, there was no explanation of the random zombie people.
Take yourself seriously. If you're not going to take yourself seriously, I'm certainly not.
What I don't understand, so it turns out that the sister, Barbara, it was one of the cult members.
Mm-hmm.
What was her motivation with that? She wanted the reason she just wanted Richard? Was that her motivation? Or no, you know what it was? It was the money. It was also a money thing.
Yeah.
I forgot. There was an inheritance involved in this one as well.
These goddamn sisters and their inheritance.
But it was such a small thing. You didn't even really know what was going on because earlier there's a scene where a lawyer calls her and says, "Hey, can you come over? We need to go over something." And then it's never addressed again until the very end when the lawyer comes back and he's like, "Yep, turns out you're about to get $300,000.
Yeah. Well, and it also felt like that Jane wasn't really on top of anything, and I feel like Barbara could have just have taken the money, and Jane never would have known. Or you could have explained it to Jane like, "Hey, this is my money. You didn't get anything. I'm sorry." And Jane would have just been like, "Oh, okay." Like,
yeah, I mean, she was aloof.
It.
Yeah, she was completely aloof to the whole thing. Like, she didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah,
so
she
it just seems like such an elaborate, way of killing her to get this money. I mean, surely there's an easier way to accomplish this. I don't know.
Who's to say?
All right, let's go ahead and give this one a score. All the Colors of the Dark. I'm probably like I don't know. I'm going to go 6 on this one as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a 6 as well.
There you have it. Another Halloween in the books. Definitely check out some of these Giallo films. Let us know what your favorite Giallo films are. I really love catching more Giallo movies that I haven't seen before. There's so many of them that I feel like it could take you a really long time to go through.
Well, it's hard to pin down because so many of them, the titles alone,
I know,
pique your interest.
Incredible.
Like, I'm looking at Phoenix, the movies that she was in, and she's in a movie called The Inconsolable Widow, Thanks All Those Who Consult Her, from 1973. Like, I want to watch that just based on the title.
Unfortunately, a lot of these are really hard to find. So, like, when we were going through the list of possible candidates, some of the ones that we were finding were just so crazy. Like, the titles, just really, really wild titles. And but a lot of them are really hard to find, unfortunately. But, you know, most of the big ones you can see on Amazon or Shudder, and Arrow puts out a lot of these movies. They do a really great job of restoring them and putting them out. So their catalog has a ton of Giallo things in them. So you can certainly look at what Arrow has and check out that. I mean, that's how I've seen most of the Giallo movies that I've seen. All right. I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, please consider giving us a review on iTunes. We'd appreciate that very much. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.